EIGRP classic configuration. In this video, I am going to show you how we can configure EIGRP with classic configuration. Actually, here we have a notepad file or text file. In this text file, we have 7 steps. For this scenario, this is our scenario R1, R2, and R3. And here you can see in step 1, you should draw the topology in EVE-NG. I did it. And after that, in step 2, you should assign IP addresses to interfaces, and also you should enable them. And also, actually, I configured this also. Actually, step 1 and step 2 are done. And step 3, check routing table in R1, R2, and R3. Let me to check the routing table in R1, R2, and R3. Show IP route is the command that you can use. Here we have only connected and also local network in the router 1, 10.1.2.0/24 and quad 1/32. As you can see here, we don't have any EIGRP learned route. In the router 2, again, show IP route can show us we have similar condition. Here we have only connected and also local networks because we didn't configure any EIGRP until now. And then in the router 3, show IP route can show us we have again 1 local interface, okay, and 2 connected networks. So easy, 1 local network actually. All right, let me to go to the step 4. In step 4, we should configure traditional EIGRP in R1, R2, and R3 with this command: router EIGRP AS number, network interface IP wildcard mask. You should use same AS number on router 1, router 2, and router 3. And I recommend to use the wildcard mask with quad 0. Okay, and for each interface, use the exact IP address of the interface. Let me to show you. I will give you this configuration notepad file. You will have it, but for now, let me to start configuration from R1 to R3. In the router 1, okay, I want to use the AS number, for example, S1, router EIGRP1, or any other AS number. The network command, network, we have 2 interfaces in router 1, 10.1.2.1, then quad 0, exactly the IP address of the interface with the quad 0, and also network quad 1, quad 0, okay, this is the router 1's configuration. In the router 2, let me to configure it. In router 2, we have 2 physical interface. Again, here it's important to use exactly router EIGRP1, and then network 10.1.2.2 quad 0. This is the IP address of the serial 10. And as you can see now, we will have neighborship or adjacency between router 1 and router 2. And here network 10.1.2. Actually, the second interface 10.2.3.2 quad 0. And as you can see here now, I configured EIGRP on both serial 10 and serial 11 of the router 2. And the last router is the router 3. Again, router EIGRP1 network address. Network is 10.2.3.3 quad 0. Again, we will have neighborship. And then network quad 0, quad 3, quad 0. That's it. This is the configuration of EIGRP on router 1, on router 2, and also on router 3. Then, in the router 1, let me to go to the step 4. In step 4, we configured it. In step 5, we should check the routing table of router 1, 2, 3 now with EIGRP configuration. Show IP route can show us, you can use show IP route or show IP route EIGRP. Show IP route can show us that in the router 1's routing table, now we have 2 new network, quad 3/32, that we learned from the EIGRP, and also 10.2.3.0/24. This network, again, we learned it from the EIGRP. Actually, router 1 now can send traffic to these 2 networks, to this not connected network, quad 3/32 and 10.2.3.0/24. In the router 2, show IP route can show us that now we have again 2 new EIGRP network, quad 1/32 and quad 3/32, and they are not connected to the router 2. And finally, in the router 3, show IP route can show us that we have again quad 1/32 and also 10.1.2.0/24, these two not connected network in the router 3. Also, let me to show you the result of show IP route EIGRP. Here we can see only the EIGRP learned route from in the router 1, and also show IP route EIGRP in the router 2, and finally in the router 3 show IP route EIGRP. Also, if you want, you can check connectivity between router 1's loopback to router 3's loopback after EIGRP configuration. You can use ping command, ping quad 3 with the source of loopback 0. As you can see, we have connectivity. If you want, you can use traceroute command, traceroute quad 3 with the source of loopback 0 numeric, and show us that the traffic will go to the router 2 10.1.2.2 and then to the router 3 10.2.3.3. This is the step 5. In step 6, check the neighborship table in R1, R2, and R3. Here you can use this command. Look at here. First, the command is show IP EIGRP interface. With this command, you can see that EIGRP is enabled in which interfaces. For example, in router 1 on serial 10 and loopback 0. Also, show IP EIGRP neighbors can show us the neighborship table in router 1. Now we have only one neighbor in the router 1 on the serial 10. The IP of this neighbor is 10.1.2.2. Also in the router 2, show IP EIGRP neighbors can show us we have two neighbor, router 1, okay, 10.1.2.1 over serial 10, and router 3 over the serial 11. The IP address of the router 3 is 10.2.3.3. And after that, also here, show IP EIGRP interface can show us we enable the EIGRP on both serial 10 and serial 11. Then last router is the router 3, show IP EIGRP interface. We enable the EIGRP on the serial 10 and loopback 0, and show IP EIGRP neighbors can show us we have neighborship over the serial 10 with the router 2 10.2.3.2. And the last step, check the topology table in R1, R2, and R3. You know that in EIGRP, all of the paths for all of the networks are available in the topology table. Let me to show you, show IP EIGRP topology or topology all link. Here in R1, we have one path for 10.1.2.0/24, this network, one path for 10.2.3.0/24, this network, one path to quad 3/32, and one path to the quad 1/32. Actually, for all networks in this topology, we have at least one path. And in the router 2, show IP EIGRP again topology. All links can show us that here we have again for all networks at least one path, and also in the router 3 show IP EIGRP topology all links. Okay, because of that, now we know about the configuration of the EIGRP, but with classic configuration. You know that EIGRP can be configured with two methods, classic and also the named configuration. In the next video, we will learn about the named configuration of the EIGRP.